debating what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was the great sounds of Watu with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and he's not with us today, but he's with us in spirit. But we got a three-peat person, interviewee here with us on the show. Raheem Nelson. I really can't give a good description or introduction like Easy Blues. It's impossible. I mean, I tried, I practiced, I rehearsed, but this man goes beyond words, goes above and beyond what he does in his craft. Been doing a lot of stuff for the Milford Arts Council and will continue to do a lot of stuff for the Milford Arts Council. He looks like he's having a great time. You really can't consider it work. Is it
no,
work?
it's not.
And it's good talking to a person who's just living his dream. So, the first question I just want to ask you, how is life right now for Raheem Nelson?
Oh man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on, Preston.
No doubt, man.
It's cool that we're able to make this work logistically. Life is good. Life is really, really good. And I'm just trying to pace myself as all these opportunities come in to just really enjoy it. Milford Arts Council comes to mind because it's like what's most prevalent right now, and just having new responsibilities.
Of course.
Like my job title is marketing director, in communications. But I'm doing all of these different things. Right now, curating an art show for Black History Month. Opening reception is going to be next Thursday. So Thursday the 15th, right after Valentine's Day. And I think one of my personal missions coming on to the Arts Council was how can I not only set myself up in a position to win, but my friends too. I have a lot of my friends in this art show too. It's a big group show. And then when I was in New Orleans a few months ago, one of the tech partners that I was working with on some illustration, they did a live podcast. I was like, oh, okay, how could that be integrated into what I'm doing? And you know Kobe Smith, right?
Oh, very well. We had him on the show for a couple times, and I'm happy you guys collaborated. Now, just tell me, what was that like, him in the room? That had to be amazing for you.
He's hysterical. Dude.
He's a character. He's definitely a character.
Yeah, he's a character.
I kind of think you two have opposite ends of the same cloth when it comes to work ethic and just being just an entrepreneur, because he's more, I think you're cool, calm, intellective, and stylish. He's right in your face. Go get him right now. He's just super powered and just motivate. He'll he'll sell salt to a snail. That's just the vibe I get from him, and I'm not mad at it. I really not.
I'm not either.
Yeah, and I want him to succeed in this podcast, and I'm happy you have him hosting this thing. So, just tell me just more of the guests you have at the event besides Kobe on there.
Yeah, definitely. So I have to pull out my phone because it's a robust list, and I might even have another artist or two that I'm working on, coming through. But featuring author Shauna T. Melton. She's phenomenal. Beautiful artistry, Black empowerment. She's a poet as well. So I'm looking forward to having her in the art show to exhibit. I think she's exhibiting 2 pieces.
Okay.
And then possibly she'll be on the panel discussion too, featuring Alana Ladson from New Haven. She's incredible. She has a lot of different illustrations. I think she did an illustration for New Haven Night Market. So she's a good friend, collaborator. We both used to work it was an art space New Haven when it was still operating and running. So that's how I was familiar with her work. So I invited her to show. And then I'm also featuring my sister-in-law, Kiana Stanley. And she's a great artist. She's a printmaker. She does illustration. She does poetry. And she also works with the International Festival of Arts and Ideas right now. So I wanted to pull her in to what I was doing and just, keep it in the family. So I'm getting opportunities. My family's getting opportunities too.
Most definitely.
Looking forward to having her work. And then, so the opening is going to be the 15th. but the whole thing runs until the 25th,
Okay.
from the February 15th to the 25th. So I was thinking like, okay, how can I do like maybe another event while this thing is going on? Because the work is just going to be up at the Milford Firehouse Gallery, which is on Naugatuck Avenue, 81 Naugatuck Avenue, and it's connected to the main space for the Milford Arts Council, which is basically at the Milford train station. So I got a friend. He goes by the stage name CEO, and he's a hip hop artist, and like he's excellent. But he's also an animator and he's a filmmaker. And
Oh,
he created
wow.
this really cool thesis film while he was in college. And we went to the same college. We went to the School of Visual Arts, which is in Manhattan. And he created this thesis film. It's like a revenge film. It's animated, but it's the kind of thing like you have to watch multiple times because it has different layers to it.
Ooh.
So this film screening and Q&A is going to be February 21st. It's going to be like an offshoot event in the same gallery space. He's going to be there to show the film, present it, and then do a Q&A with his creative partner.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's going
cool.
to be so
That's
great.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. You don't really get to see a lot of well, personally for me, like because I can't like speak for everybody else. I can speak for myself. Like I personally don't really get to see black animators just like
Mm.
within my like hometown as that. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen black painters. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen, like black artists, but like black animators like making cartoons just like in the New Haven area. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
really exciting to see. And the fact that you came up with them,
Mm-hmm.
that's a blessing, brother.
Yeah,
Like
he's a
it
good
is.
dude.
It
He's a
really
good
is.
dude. And again, part of my mission for the Milford Arts Council is to bring my various circles together.
Hmm.
And I spent a lot of time in New York, went to art college in New York. So I pitched him this idea. He was all for it. Just had to make it work logistically because he's coming from New York and everything. But being able to have this job where I'm connecting all these people, I'm having like a live podcast with Kobe. I'm
Yeah.
having artists drop off work and I'm getting to see their eyes lit up and everything, like photographers, visual artists, painters, and just thinking how I'm going to curate the space because I haven't even been in the space yet to like hang the work. Like I'm not going to be able to get into there until like Tuesday and Wednesday because we have another exhibit up.
Hmm.
But I'm just like already visualizing it like, okay, I've got all these great pieces, all these really cool people coming together and that
Right.
are appreciative to come together and we're all making it work. So I know when I get in the space and I'm curating and I'm putting stuff on the walls and everything, it's going to be, it's organic, it's going to come together. And I think I'm just kind of like really visualizing how the audience is going to receive all this because I haven't curated an art show in like 5, 6 years at least.
The nervous bug kicking
So,
in?
yeah. What's that?
Is the nervous bug kicking in? I didn't announce myself properly. I
No,
apologize.
it's okay. I don't know. For me, I try to be like super confident. I do feel super confident in this,
Right.
and all I see it as is like
Okay.
bringing friends together to exhibit, to have conversations, to have a good time, and it falls under the banner of what I do for
Hmm.
my job.
Right.
But I don't think it would go this smoothly if I didn't have good relationships with all the artists that I'm working with. Like it's not like pulling teeth. It's
Mm.
like, okay, when do you need the work? Like, okay, I'll come by your job and I'll drop it off. And it's like, okay, like, is it supposed to be this easy?
And I think that's probably like the joy of networking,
Yeah,
because like you're talking like to all these great minds. I think I also saw on the list that you had Malcolm Welfare. He's going to be there.
he's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
a wonderful mind, and
Hmm.
it's funny that you got him because I know when we interviewed him, I think it was like last year.
Hmm.
He was talking about AI, and
Hmm.
you are into AI as well. So
Hmm.
like how big is that going to be within that whole function you're going into the Milford Arts Council for this Thursday and for the 15th to the 25th, like how will
Hmm.
that be integrated a part of that? Like, because I know you
Hmm.
guys won't stop teaching it and it won't stop
No.
evolving.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the conversation I had with him, and like I'm really glad you're touching on this
Hmm.
because I had invited him, and he's like, "Oh, do you want me to exhibit?" And I didn't know he was in AI art like that. And then
Yeah,
we got
man,
to
big too.
talking about it,
Hmm.
and then he was asking me my stance on it and everything, and he wasn't trying to pass it off like it wasn't AI art. I appreciated that. I appreciated like the authenticity because like
Yeah.
some artists would be like, oh well, I did this by hand or whatever. Like, nah, it's clearly AI. But
Mm-hmm.
the images he sent me like were really cool and they really fit into the theme. Black History Month, Black empowerment, and
Mm-hmm.
Black creativity. Like all those things are a part of the show. So I was like, yeah, like submit your work, and I think it'll also help start a conversation of like how can AI be used for good? How
Mm,
can AI be used to
absolutely.
empower people and coexist with like your photography and your illustration, your digital illustration? So for me, bringing him in, bringing his talents in is also
Mm-hmm.
going to start a wider, larger conversation, which is what I'm trying to do for this exhibition anyway. It's like really forward that conversation. Now I just keep doing the same things. Like I have a lot of variety in this art show.
Mm-hmm. And just like another thing, I just want to touch on AI. Does it frustrate you that people don't see the good out of it? Because like I'm starting to research a little bit different as well too. I can use it to be able to be a better speaker.
Mm-hmm.
They can teach me like different words and different like stuff to enunciate. There's different programs, or
Mm-hmm.
it can teach me just to be better minded this when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to things, just like approaching people.
Yeah.
Script writing. I always want to like to do like a little script, like a little like short script, and just hand it
Mm-hmm.
in and just like feel about it, feel a little bit confident about myself. So it gives
Mm-hmm.
suggestions. And you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're more expert in this. Like it just gives you just options for
Mm-hmm.
your creativity and for your art. And does it frustrate you people are trying to get rid of it
Mm-hmm.
entirely? Because like there's been
Mm-hmm.
protests about it, like with strikes and
Mm-hmm.
it trying to take over like people's jobs, when in reality, like when we learn more about it, it's trying to help people be a little bit better when it just comes to thinking minded. Do you think AI will be the end of writer's block when it offers these suggestions, or creative block when it comes to artists and creativity?
Yeah, really good points there too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't get frustrated because I'm
Mm-hmm.
always curious. I'm always
Okay,
looking for more
that's
knowledge.
that's a good answer.
Yeah. And I don't always expect people to want to do the same. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people are going to want to do what they want to do. For me, like I'm always reading, always studying. Like I
Of
use an
course.
app called Flipboard where I get like pretty much most of my news because it just
Mm.
takes news and it pulls it from all over the web so that
Okay.
you can just like read articles on whatever interests you without having to go to all these different websites.
Mm-hmm.
And AI has been, really prevalent, and I think it's like with anything, it's a tool. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. I think it's all about the people, corporations using it. I would
Mm.
hope that AI is used in a way where it's not stealing from living artists and dead artists to create something. Like I think
Mm.
there's just a way where AI can be used in a way that has integrity, and that hasn't always worked for these corporations. I don't really think it's going anywhere. I think it's like it's Pandora's box kind of situation. Like it's already open. Like what are we gonna do with it? And
Right.
I went to a conference recently when I was in New Orleans, and it was
Mm-hmm.
on tech and AI, and they were talking about how AI was being used for good in terms of businesses
Mm-hmm.
and writing, like what you're saying,
Yeah.
speeches, and also kind of like they would have AI sit in on a meeting,
Right.
and then by the end of it, the AI not only captured like the meeting notes, but the inflections. And one of them, at one point at the end of the meeting, the AI program was like, "Oh well, so and so doesn't agree with your point, is actually frustrated too." So like it
Mm.
kind of went deeper and just like instead of the surface level, like it went deeper than that. So the AI is always learning and always progressing. And I just think it's interesting how far we've come, like watch these movies, like, and I hope we don't end up in like a Terminator 2 situation and like gotta have those
I think that's a scare.
checks and
I
balances. Yeah.
really think that's a scare. A lot of people think we're going to be in Judgment Day and then like the robots are going to come, which I think, they probably had a backup plan for that.
Yeah. I don't
Like
hope so.
worst case scenario that's going to happen. But
Yeah.
I like looking at the positivity of things because a
Mhm.
lot of people um I hate to say it, because I'm millennial. A lot of people get clout when it comes to like these negative opinions and negative
Mhm.
thoughts, especially when it comes to advancement and when it comes to, staying relevant when it comes to technology and stuff. Like there are a lot of people who just want to just stay in the past and stay in that whole comfort zone, and they need to break out. And I love the fact with all the guests that you have just for this bill, like for example, Dr. Creative.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's an amazing individual. And one thing I love about him, he loves to stay relevant. He always wants to stay relevant when it comes to different people. So I gotta just ask, this leads to my next question. Was it too easy just getting all these people and getting all these creative minds all together throughout this whole entire week that you had planned for the Milford Arts Council? Was it just too smooth? Did you feel like you weren't even trying at all just to get a plan for the whole entire week?
Asking people wasn't that difficult. I think stuff like the press releases and getting all the event pages up and everything, getting some of the assets that I needed. Well, even that wasn't that bad. But I think just like the day-to-day stuff with the press releases, getting the word out, and I'm still getting the word out. I'm seeing I can get some more
of course
media appearances and stuff like that. I think that's been not tricky, but like that's been harder than actually asking people to contribute, because like people want to show their work.
Of course.
They want to be seen, they want to be in the conversation, they want to sell their work too. And I'm giving artists an opportunity to sell their work without like a gallery fee. Like it's something that I worked out with Milford Arts Council, where we're selling tickets, and then those tickets are going right back to the artists too.
Which is great. It's really great. I think it's more great seeing people of color just coming together and making something happen, especially at this time. And I love to see it because I know you don't still do it in February. You're doing it for March, April, June, July, August, September, October, November. Like it's a 24/7 thing, which I think is beautiful, because the only people that can help us out is us. At the end of the day, and no one can do it like us.
Right.
And I'm
so
happy
true.
that I made sense out of it. Like, how much pride and how fulfilled do you feel just being a part of that, just like getting everybody together in the network? And do you feel it's a great step to the future?
Oh yeah. So I think the best way I could describe it is like, this is the happiest I've ever been to go to work. I mean, I love my job in general. Every day is an adventure and everything. Working like so close to a train station, get there conveniently and everything, and do all these cool things on a day-to-day basis. But just, I'm really seeing how much I missed curation and curating a show full of friends and my peers, and opening that up to the public and crossing bridges, so to speak, breaking down east silos between New Haven, Milford, West Haven, New York, like all these places I want to bring together. So that really excites me. And it starts in Black History Month, like it starts in February, but I'm just already thinking like, what other shows can I curate and put together? Because I love illustrating, I love being in the community, I love networking, but I think curation was like a big missing part from what I'm doing already, because like I'm meeting people every day anyway, really cool people. So like, how can we come together and pool our resources and like make a really cool exhibition out of it?
Now, speaking of something that's really cool, one of my favorite beverages, whiskey. I know you got
Yeah.
that in the event. Please tell our audience just more like who about the people that you partnered with, just to get that going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would like that to be a partnership, hopefully in the future.
Oh, I thought it was.
No,
Thanks for correcting me. Thank you. Thank you. I thought you worked with some heads. All right, my bad. I thought it was a local.
Working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Nearest is a Tennessee whiskey. I believe the founder taught Jack Daniels how to create whiskey. So like their stuff, and they're Black owned. You know, it was really important to have a Black art show and a Black beverage to go along with it too, like a big whiskey guy. And do you know Rasik from Anchor Spa?
I've heard about him. I never met him. I never never met him, but I heard good things about it. The name has been out there. So like, because I won't be going to Anchor Spa. I should.
Yeah,
I never got a chance like to go there and just see what it's all about. But I heard great things about Anchor Spa.
Yeah, Anchor Spa, great. And I mentioned Rasik because Rasik actually put me on to Uncle Nearest. They have an old fashioned, which is my favorite cocktail, and they make it with this Uncle Nearest whiskey. So I did like some light research and everything. And Rasik was actually a bartender for an event I had at Known Co-working, just on menswear and coming together and community. So similar to what I'm doing for this art event.
Okay.
And Uncle Nearest is like so good, and it's Black owned. I was like, how do I integrate that into what this art show is? Kind of have that in the theme, the sophistication, the art, the whiskey. It's Black owned, Black business. And I believe like one of their brewers is a woman. So like I think she's like possibly, I think, first Black woman in the whiskey business and everything. So she's doing great.
Okay, similar to what Elise is doing with Rhythm Brewing. All right, go ahead.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep. So not only does it taste good, but like it has a great story behind it.
All right.
And just grab the bottle, probably grab another, and we're gonna have a whiskey tasting that's gonna be like towards the end of the event. And it's optional, so you can do an upcharge ticket if you want. We're doing it for 15 each.
That's not bad.
Just getting to try it, and so it's going to be networking at the top of the hour for a bit, introductions, all that stuff. People can check out the artwork, and then going into the live podcast portion with Kobe that he's going to moderate with the artists that want to speak, and then just some more networking, whiskey tasting, and people just having fun.
Now, you said it's from the 15th to the 25th. What other stuff is planned, and what exciting, activities do you have, stored for people just coming in throughout that whole entire week? Did you have a plan? Go right ahead.
Yeah, so things are still coming together. I think for me, I want to get the two big events booked, the main reception, and then also the film screening, which on the 21st. But those other days like are pretty much open. So I've been inviting other artists to either gallery sit, do an artist talk if they want, sell tickets, maybe do another event. I really want this to be a space that I'm curating and creating, but for other people to come in and do their thing, because the space is just going to be there anyway. And I don't want to just be this situation where people are coming in and viewing the artwork. Like that's fine, but I think I want to have like some smaller events where people can come engage with the artists, talk to the artists, the artists be able to sell prints and merch and stuff like that. So there's some other artists that I'm trying to into the space to do that, have like either their own night or a few hours where they do that. So it's like not necessarily all the artists, if they can't make it for whatever reason, it's like, okay, you can't make it the 15th, come the 16th or come the 18th and sell your artwork, talk to people that come in, we'll make a thing out of it. So just like these little smaller organic events coming out of like this larger event. So that's the plan.
I like hearing that on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston. Easy is not with us, but he's here in spirit. We got a great person, a three-peat winner right here. His name is Raheem Nelson. He's on Preston and Easy Blues right here on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. A full week from the 15th to the 25th. You cannot miss it at the Milford Arts Council. And it's at the perfect location too. You just take the train from New Haven, get off in Milford. It's about like a 20-minute ride, well, probably less than that.
Yeah.
Walk right down and you're there. You're there. So you got no excuse to go. It's the perfect location, perfect place to be. Everybody full of color, full spirited, definitely great-minded people going to be there. Get to share a lot and share information, and it's a great opportunity to network for yourself. And what other places that have it planned perfectly for you, right in your hands.
Yep.
It's a beautiful time right now in 2024. And
definitely.
What do you plan for the next probably like 5 years in time? What do you see 5 years? What goals with 5 years will be met? Because we're talking about the future. We talked about your past. We talked about your present. I want to know more specifically about your future, what you got planned for yourself and the Milford Arts Council in 5 years. What will get done?
Well, okay. So 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Starting with the MAC, what I see happening is continuing to diversify. I'm curating art shows really all over the world because I have an interest in traveling to different places. I've been to up. I've been to Cuba and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what I picture is being able to return to some of these places, but curate art shows and go for projects and go for artist and residency programs and just make a thing where like I'm traveling on a regular, consistent basis. And then what I picture happening is transitioning from working fully remote, and I don't know quite know what the role would look like, but like working fully remote and then transitioning from that to being full-time creative entrepreneur where I'm just doing my own thing.
Mm.
And my boss, Paige Miglio, and I've had conversations about just like how long I'm be at the Mac. I was telling her, it's like, I'll be there as long as you are, because she was talking about stepping it down at some point. And I'm in the space of wanting to really build up the Milford Arts Council and leave it better than I found it. And then, once I've done that, I think it'll be time to move on to something else. Other things are calling me, and
Yeah.
been interesting too. So just like juggling it all and seeing the potential of you know being a full-time creative entrepreneur. And
Mm.
I think with this job, I sort of feel like I am that anyway. Like, I have to go to work and everything, I go to the office, but like some days I'm remote, some days I'm on a
Yeah.
podcast interview, or making Instagram reels, doing fashion photo
I've
shoots.
been
So like
seeing,
all
man,
these things.
you've been everywhere. You've been
Yeah.
everywhere, bro. I remember seeing you at the Chalk Festival. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
downtown,
That was fun.
and it was fun. And
Hmm.
it's crazy because like it's organically it happened to me. I was just like going down, minding my business, and I
Hmm.
see this whole swarm of people right on the island, you know, at Broadway Avenue, right
Hmm.
in New Haven. As you just walk on, and I just see all this amazing artwork just from
Hmm.
Chalk,
Hmm.
and it felt like it came off my phone onto the platform on the street how they were
Hmm.
drawing, and it's
Yeah.
crazy
Hmm.
how we have all these amazing artists just like right next door to
Hmm.
me. So like it's insane. It's insane. Like
Yeah.
I can just nerd out with you just for a little bit. I saw
Hmm.
like anime on the
Hmm.
ground. I saw stuff from video games on the ground.
Hmm.
Um, one thing that really got me was one artwork. I forgot. It was like from a person's family that passed away, and they had like the
Hmm.
photo, and they took the image from the photo and put it right on there with just, I
Yeah.
think it was like black and white.
I remember that
Y'all,
one.
like
Yeah.
that was
That was.
just that hit me a little bit. I
Hmm.
was frozen in time
Hmm.
for a good, I think 10 to 15 seconds, just like looking at that. Like it just
Hmm.
touched me. And I just saw her. She was just like taking her time with it, just like easily going through it and just I don't know where you have the time just to do all this amazing stuff. Now, I think you were a judge for the Chalk Festival.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
how long have you been a judge, or was this your first year being a judge in 2003?
It was first time.
Okay.
Definitely shout out to Shops at Yale though. They've been an amazing client,
Yeah.
and they've had me do murals for them, like live murals. So
Mm-hmm.
that's got me back into doing traditional art. So just doing these panel murals for them. I've done
Yeah.
two so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the most recent one I did featured Handsome Dan, the Yale Bulldog and everything. So that was a fun
Mm-hmm.
piece to do, and did that with some florals. And then the piece before that was like dedicated to downtown New Haven. So pretty much every summer, so for like the past 2 years, they've commissioned me to do these live murals on the Broadway Island. And it's
Mm.
just cool. It's cool being able to showcase another skill set that I have. Like a lot of people know me for just digital art, but I did start in comic books, and then acrylic painting and oil painting. And like it's
Mm-hmm.
just been like really cool being able to do all these different things.
How much patience can you have just doing these murals and just like putting it on? Because it's no joke, especially if you're the only person just putting out there doing it, and the level of trust that they have within you is
Mm,
just no words to explain. Like
mm,
mentally, like what are you going through during a meal? Because it's not easy. It's not
mm,
easy one bit. It's really not. Because I remember I
mm,
was talking to another creative in New Haven, Cujo, a day. I
mm.
don't know if you know him.
Yep, I do.
Yeah,
Great dude.
I think you and him have the same amount of drip because like the way you guys dress is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, he told me like it took him like mentally, I think it took him mentally, he said, a couple days because he had I think it was a mural like right near on Dixwell Avenue he was doing. I forgot like the Pacific Street. It was near on Dixwell Avenue. But I think I have a good feeling what I'm talking about. I think it took him like a good like 2 to 3 days just to visualize in his head what had to come off his head into the piece of paper or just background he was just working his art on. So like just mentally, just as an artist, as a creative, like how do you just go through a process like that? Just getting something out of your brain and just putting it on this like huge platform, like a brick wall or like a sign or something that everybody's gonna see just from generations to come. Because you're not just making art just to make it, you're just making it for the people. You're making it for the city. Like just tell me, just go. What goes through your head?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my artwork as of late has been for the community. And that's been something I've wanted to do. So it's nice to be stepping into that role where like I'm a community artist. Like I absolutely love it. I like making artwork that inspires people. And these shops at Yale, murals are in their windows. So if you go on Broadway, you can just see both of them. So being able to get the feedback from that has been like really amazing. And in terms of the thought process, I think with something that big, what I do with them is I will do a smaller mock-up and send that to them. So that gets approved and they know what they're getting. You know, I kind of do it to scale digitally and then send it off. They review it. They don't really come back with revisions, which is great. They give me a lot of freedom to just kind of do my thing with it. Like it's kind of rare as a creative entrepreneur where like you do something, they're like no revisions. So like they really do trust that I'm gonna get there, be professional, get the job done. And I'm sending them a mock-up so they know what they're getting. And then once I get on site, after the sketch is done, it's almost kind of like blacking out. Like I just kind of like focus in, hone in. And before I know it, like I'm 75, 80% done. And, you know, I'm still able to engage with people that come up to me and talk to me while still remaining focused.
Yeah, that has to be the hard part for me.
I'll tell you, I learned it too.
Please do.
Yep. So I learned to do that by illustrating and drawing people, like people sitting right in front of me. I had an engagement with one of the Sony stores in New York City. Like it was a contract with like one of their drawing tablets. So pretty much going into, I think, 3 Sony stores in New York and illustrating portraits of people. So like just getting all types of feedback. Or like, oh, well, my nose is too big, or can you change that? Because they could see what was on my screen because it was being projected. So it was really a trial by fire where it's like, okay, I've got to focus in, get these proportions right. And they're giving me feedback at the same time. So at first, like it was really difficult, but I think a few days in on the job, I just, you know, was able to flex that muscle. And like now I carry that into like all my work where like you could watch me do a painting for hours and I would still be able to focus in on that and just get it done because I have that training now.
You had me at New York. So if you learn in New York, you can do it anywhere, especially when it comes to concentration.
Yeah, because New Yorkers don't play.
Oh my goodness, there's so much concentration and so many people being blunt with you. Maybe that's when you graduated.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So you had me there. What other? I mean, your mind's probably always going like an Energizer Bunny inside your head. Any New Haven has some beautiful spots when you just walk around through the city and in the parks. What has not touched your hands when it comes to like just art, just like putting on a wall? Like what places would you love to do a mural anywhere like within New Haven that you have not done yet? Like what's some spots that you just looked at be like, yo, I can do some amazing work over there? What caught your eye?
I think probably some schools. I taught a few workshops at co-op, so I would love to do a mural at co-op. You know, some other schools around town. You know, some stuff that's really centric on kids. I think would be a lot of fun. And then aside from that, I think I want to get my work into some galleries around town. Keller Liddell definitely on the list. Next Haven definitely on the list too.
Next Haven, yeah.
Yale Art Gallery. I think I have some pieces that look great in that space. Just various galleries I want to get my work in. Like right now too, I've got my work in New York. well, it was coming down, but it was another Black History Month show that was in before mine.
Okay.
And it was through Gallery Riva. And Gallery Riva has a Black History Month show right now, and it was curated by my great friend Michelin Hess, who's an illustrator, cartoonist. She's had her work in the New Yorker, and she does graphic novels. So she curated this. I contributed a few pieces, and like the opening was like really cool. And I had already been planning my show, before I went to this, but like considering that it was so much fun, all these Black artists coming together and creating art and then talking about it, I was like, okay, like I definitely need to keep moving forward with what I'm doing. And it kind of gave me like more energy to get the artists together, collect the work, because I was able to experience that. And when I go to New York to grab the pieces on like Monday, I'm probably gonna take these two pieces that were in that show and put them in my show, because one I did of my wife, and then the other one I did of Solange, which I believe we talked about in the last
I think you showed us that piece. I don't know if it was in the in studio show or it was the first episode that I had with you, where you showed me just a piece with your wife. And I think either I thought or Easy thought, you know what I'm saying? Because like I'm a millennial and my head goes like back and forth sometimes. Where I thought it was an actual photo.
Right.
But like no, you said it was by hand. And I always wondered, just from an artist's point of view, like to me, that's really hard to mimic a photo for people to second guess it. Like even when it comes to computers, where I really think it's an actual person there when it's really not. And I don't even know how I can state this question. Like, tell me just a little bit just about the transformation, just like from a piece. Like somebody can probably take a snapshot of us and just put it into artwork. Like, how does that transformation form, or transition is a better word? Like, just deep down, just into it, because we got some time within the broadcast.
Cool.
So please do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting that you bring up portrait art. It's something I really want to get back to, and it wasn't like necessarily intentional that I stopped doing portraits for a while.
Yeah, because you got a lot of things going on.
So many commissions came in like at once. Like I'm finishing up 3 commissions right now, and then I'm supposed to take on a bigger commission in March.
And I'm happy for your success, by the way. Definitely.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking for those pockets of time where I can start a new realistic portrait. The last one I did was of Nas. That's going to be in my show. The piece is called King Nas. And it was something that I just like knocked out in like, I think 3 to 4 hours. And it was like an impressionist oil painting, but digital, Renaissance iconography, like the Solange piece. And there's like a halo behind Nas's head, and he has a crown. So like that was the last one I did. I think I did it last year, and it'll also be featured in NFT New York City, which is a conference I'll be speaking at in April. So that'll be fun too.
That's right.
Yeah, but getting back to the process of the portraiture, I think for me, I look at my work as realistic, not necessarily photorealistic though, but like that's just me and my artistry, and like not necessarily like self-deprecating, but just I get to a point in the portrait, I'm like, okay, I can stop here. But I realize I still have room to grow, where somebody else might be like, oh, it looks just like a photograph and everything. And when I paint someone or draw someone, I'm never thinking like, oh, let me make it like the portrait or whatever. To me, I think I'm able to do portraiture so well because I'm concerned with who the person is, who the person is to me, who the person is for the world. And my mom always says, like, you capture the eyes really well. And if I'm starting at the eyes or around the eyes and like really rendering that well, everything else kind of falls into place.
What's the most asked question you get about art, just from a perspective person? Is it starting?
Do you do it full time? It to me is like super disrespectful.
Oh, this is like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Oh,
I do so many things to
yeah
create an income for myself. Like
yeah.
I don't know if it's ever going to be just one thing. I don't know if I ever want it to be one thing. Like I do children's books. I sell prints, paintings. I do
Right.
commissions. I curate. I do so many different things to create this lifestyle that I enjoy, that I'm able to enjoy with my wife. So I don't know. I don't even know what you want to call it. Like, I'm a creative entrepreneur, like however that
Yeah,
looks
of
like. I
course you
work for
are.
the Milford Arts Council. I do social media marketing, photography, video, all this stuff. But I also do stuff on my remote days. I
Yeah.
graphic record. I work with clients. So like to me, like I am a full-time artist. I'm working in the arts. I'm doing what I love every day. So like
Yeah.
works for me.
And the funny part about it, you're loving what you do, so it's not really work.
It's really
You
not.
know, you put the work in, obviously. I mean, it doesn't come easy, but just do you for your position, just in life professionally, do you feel it's the work that you earned? Because like being an artist and stuff like that, because you feel like you earn this, you know, because a lot of people like get promotions and like, that guy, but like when it comes to your profession, like you have to go get it. Like there's no one's gonna do it for you. You have to go in there and jump in those doors and get these opportunities. I think one person taught me in broadcasting school, they told me forgiveness is better than permission. You have to go out there and get a lot of stuff. And just having conversations with you and just like the different guests that we had on within our program, I've seen that. I've seen just people just go out there with the hustle mentality because like, and you're pretty much a legal hustler. You're
I'll
putting your
take
art
that.
out there, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that to like down you or
No, I
disrespect you
receive
or
it.
anything
I
like
do
that, but
hustle.
like you definitely have to hustle to get your product out there. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is beautiful. Now, I know you work with the kids. You did mention about the kids in co-op. You
Yep.
do work with children in the Milford Arts Council. Now, are we going to have like any events within the 15th to the 25th with them, or do you have stuff planned out for the foreseeable future with these little prospective geniuses that you talk to and work with and help mold into the great future that we have planned for the next 10 years with these guys?
Yeah, I would love to be able to work that into the current exhibit. Not opening night, but I think because it runs late and then there'll be
Oh
whiskey
yeah.
as well,
Oh
so
yeah,
can't do
definitely.
that.
That's a smart call. I
Don't
agree
want
on
that.
WNHHLP
Right.
103.5 FM, but Raheem, continue.
Yeah. So I think between that time, like
Hmm.
even like to be responsible too, like the animated film is also for mature audiences, so that would
Right.
not be something that kids would be necessarily
Yeah,
invited
that's more
to.
my alley. I agree. That's definitely
Right,
more my
right.
alley to watch.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, adult
continue.
anime. But I think I will try to find either those gallery sitting days
Yeah,
between that 15th and 21st where, just open to the public, like bring your kids, check out this beautiful artwork
of course.
and, potentially meet one of the artists. I think
Hmm.
if I can create like 2 to 3 days of that, I think that would be really cool. And then do something more kid specific, like maybe in graphic novels or something, where I can
Ooh,
have a curated show with kids doing that.
I like that. I like that a lot. Any work that has blown your mind, you seen a child do that just was just jaw dropping, where you just had to just think about your own life for a couple seconds?
I think I've seen kids, my students specifically, do like
Uh,
some amazing cartooning comic books
oh,
and
nice.
just telling like a complete story. It's like, wow, like, okay, like you really put your all into this. Like it looks great.
Mm,
And then just how kids pick up technology quickly. I teach
they do.
courses. I
They
teach
do.
courses with my
Yeah.
iPad, these different apps and things like that. And
Hmm.
then I see them like doing these abstract paintings and using the technology in ways I didn't really think of. It's like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Mm,
So I give kids a lot of credit for, especially the generation that has embraced technology and they're brought up on it, being
mm.
able to use it effectively and use it quickly. And I think for me too, that's why I'm always learning and reading stuff because I don't ever want to feel like I'm falling out of being in the know with technology. And
Yeah.
kids, like to them, just comes like that. So I think
Uh-huh.
it's cool.
It's funny with kids. Sometimes you see them see a little you in themselves. So
Hmm.
it's crazy. It's just how they work with each other. Now you said they made, you correct me if I'm wrong. You said they made their own like comic books, like these young minds like made like their very own here. That's wild.
Yep,
That's wild.
I did a few workshops where I
Mhm.
would teach them how to do comic books.
Oh my goodness. Now, did they do that with the AI?
This was a few years ago, so it was just they were either tracing or they were,
Oh,
drawing
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I thought, oh, so they did like a little Stan Lee kind of thing. So there was like right there
Exactly.
with the
Yep.
board and stretched
hmm
out. Wow.
hmm
That's something. That's something. Now, how hard that can be, just like making your own comic book.
Um, I think it like with anything, it's a lot of
Yeah,
practice.
it has
Uh,
to be. Yeah.
yeah. I think it can be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been of the mind, and when I do my own graphic novels, like I like to have
Mm-hmm.
full creative control over it. Like I
Of
love to
course. Yeah.
write it, draw it,
Mm-hmm.
do the script and everything, color it. Whereas some might want to work with a writer or work with an illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my experience with children's books as of late has been I work with an author because I'm helping the author tell their story. So
Mm.
that's been a lot of fun. But in terms of graphic novels and comic books, it's pretty much something I would like pursue on my own and have that creative control.
Mm.
And I'm thinking of doing another one when like these commissions die down and everything. I
Right.
have a series that is called Little Robots,
Oh,
and
nice.
Robots is pretty much like the Peanuts meets like tech meets like just doing a send up of pop culture and stuff I see day to day.
Okay.
And I did it for like a year, like on
Mm.
and off. And it was like this one part of the series was about my wife and I and how we met in our friends circle and everything.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
then it transitions into this story
Mm-hmm.
about how this guy responded to his girlfriend getting COVID, and then she's hospitalized in this whole narrative, and it turns like into this crime drama. So
Yeah.
like it looks like the characters are cutesy and everything, like the
Uh-huh.
Peanuts, where there's like these robots, but like they're doing these wild things. So like it's definitely
Yeah.
something I want to bring back. And I illustrated this part of the story to really I guess, make peace with what was happening in the world with COVID and
Uh-huh.
telling the story that my wife and I co-wrote that part of it about the guy being in the hospital, just like seeing his face when, the doctor is telling him like, hey, like we don't really have room to treat girlfriend because like all
Yeah.
this crazy stuff is going on. So like it's drawn in like this cutesy way, but like it's tackling like these real world issues.
Wow. Oh man. That got me. That got me a little bit because like you put everything together, like the what's going on in the present time. You put a little sci-fi into it, mixing the
hmm
one.
hmm
When it comes to creating stories and being a great storyteller, everybody has their different form of being entertained. Well, pretty much like let me just better word this.
hmm
Everybody has their different point of view of being entertained. Like nobody's the same.
hmm
Like you can
Right.
be fair when it comes to it. But what are some key as a storyteller? Let's just
hmm
say like I'm writing a movie script or I'm writing a graphic novel, comic book, or whatever.
hmm
Like, what are some ways storytelling I could immediately just get the reader connected or hook like that? Because some
hmm
people can just write, but
hmm
like to get people into what you're putting into, like, what are some key things we can learn just as a prospective writer?
hmm Yeah, as a and we're getting into all these different nuances and
Hmm.
things that I've done in the past and want
Right.
to do more of. Like with writing,
Uh-huh.
that's something I really enjoy. I love writing stories. It's something I did as a kid a lot. It's something I did as a teenager a lot.
Hmm.
And I don't tend to do it so much now in the traditional sense. Like I tell stories through illustrations, whether it's through a client or something like that, but not so much like with the graphic novels. But that's something I do want to get back to.
Hmm.
But my first tip would be, and I look for this in all forms of media, show, don't tell.
Right.
I think is brilliant because you're showing the audience something like, and I think fantasy struggles with this. Like I
Hmm.
enjoy like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all that. But where some of these properties falter is when they give you like all of this juxtaposition. We're like, oh well, this king got into this conflict and this and that happened, and they're telling you all this stuff instead of showing you the conflict, whether it's like a flashback or a flash forward, something that's going to be happening in the future. Like show audiences these moments that are impacting the story so they have an opportunity to connect with the characters. And if you're just doing like an exposition dump all the time, it's going to like take you out of the story.
Do you feel people kind of stretch a little bit, kind of like you know, milk whatever they have, and you know, just kind of like let me just put it in the best way, nerd like, kind of like Spider-Man, for example. Like Sony owns Spider-Man. Like there's so many good Spider-Man stories you put out there, but then like you put like a lot of like minor characters that don't need an expansion to their story, you know, and we don't have to go on and on with this because there'll be a whole nother podcast on a whole nother platform. So we can talk like hours and hours about our, you know, disappointment about this. Exactly. Do you feel a lot of people over describe like a character or a plot too much? It just ruins everything about that story or about that character, and so on and so
on. Yeah, over explaining is not really doing these properties favors. And I look at where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is right now. Absolutely. And look at some of the things that Sony are doing. Like Sony's like killing it with like these Spider-Verse movies, like some of the best. Absolutely. I won't even say animated movies, like some of the best movies I've seen.
I say best comic
period.
Comic book movie, definitely. It's a comic book
those movies are phenomenal. Absolutely. And you've got this Black and Latino Spider-Man. Absolutely. That is like the most capable and powerful Spider-Man of them all. Like Miles Morales is like phenomenal. Agreed. And they're telling a grounded story. And they're telling a tactical story where like they have these moments in the story where like he's connecting with his family, he's having conflicts with his family, and then he's also dealing with like these otherworldly things. And I've always enjoyed Peter Parker as a Spider-Man and as a character. Right. But I think Miles is just the best Spider-Man. And like, definitely. People aren't really going to want to hear that. But like, I remember.
See, they don't want to hear it now. But give it about like 6-7 years, like in the future, you will be right. Like you will definitely be right because we're in the moment now. But when we look back at it, we're like, yo, we had it good. We had it really good back then.
His characterization is really good in these films. Also the video games as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales, like he's great in all those. And I remember he came out when he came out in the Ultimate Universe for the comics, his characterization was just like wasn't that great. Like it had potential, but he wasn't really like a focal character in his own story. He wasn't. And he was written a particular way. Yeah. Now he's written in an authentic way where it's like, okay, like he's a kid in Harlem in the games, and he's a kid in Brooklyn in the movies, and he feels like a real person. He feels different.
It's so relatable.
Peter Parker. Yeah, and relatable. So like I love what they're doing with the character. And it's also a case of like they do tell you some stuff in the films just to speed things up, but like they are showing you the relationships and showing you the conflicts so you can root for these characters.
And I'm happy you put it out there. They're not telling you verbally, they're telling you physically, just with pictures. And as we get back to what you taught to the kids back then with the whole storyboard writing and creating, matching pictures with words and telling stories through pictures. Is it difficult? For me, yes, it can be difficult. You know what I'm saying? Just like talking to people through pictures and just telling a good story. But if you're really listening and comprehending what the author is explaining to you, that will be an easy process for you to tell the audience, which I think is really cool with that. And you see it through the movie, and you see it through other films as well, too. And I think you capture that really well when it just comes to your artwork, and just it's a lot to tell a story through a picture. It really is, because I bet you probably had exhibits and galleries where you were talking to different people, and let's just say, example, the picture of your wife. Everybody has a different story just seeing that picture. just
I love that
visualizing
too.
picture.
Like
There's a
that just happened
different
recently too.
variation. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And that makes you feel good. That makes you feel good as a human being. And matter of fact, that's probably some stories to tell your wife that probably makes her feel good as well too. They thought that about me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the joy of just like talking to people and with different galleries about it. And I'm really happy that you're doing this with this event. We're closing a little bit. You're very welcome. And we're closing a little bit in this broadcast right now. What I want you to do, just restate everything about this event, what's going on this coming Thursday, talk to people about it, big it up as best as you can. Like we do every broadcast, please give your social media information so people can contact you. So you can have a lot more great interviews with me, Easy. And I'm happy you're talking to a lot of different media platforms. You beyond deserve it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. And, some words of advice, motivational, just a big four pick me up. So this
Definitely.
time, you go ahead.
Okay, great. So we'll start with socials.
Of course.
You can follow me at Raheem Nelson Art, at Raheem Nelson Style, and at Raheem Nelson Photo on Instagram. If you're on X, normally Twitter, at Raheem Nelson Art. My website is raheemnelson.com. It has my entire portfolio, commissions, all that stuff, what have you. And then for the Milford Arts Council, it's milfordarts.org for the website. And then for social media, it is Milford Arts. And for the show, the title is A World of Wonders, a celebration of Black creativity. It is going to be Thursday, February 15th for the opening. And there's going to be a networking. There's going to be a live podcast panel by my amazing friend Kobe Smith, where he will be speaking to the artists that are there, panelists, and discussing Black creativity, what Black creativity means to them, and just opening it up and to be a larger conversation about celebrating Black art, because it doesn't have to be for 1 month. Like, we should be celebrating Black art year round.
24/7, I agree.
Accomplish with this show. And then towards the end of the evening, there's going to be an optional whiskey tasting from Uncle Nearest Whiskey, which is Black owned. It's going to be great. So a lot of chances to mingle and mix with the artists, to take in beautiful artwork that will be up until February 25th. And you can also look for the film screening of my friend Christopher Ortiz's thesis film, while he was at the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, called Redress. And that will be an animated short film screening. And there will also be a Q&A to follow. So the Redress film screening is the 21st. That's going to be from 7 to 9. The opening reception on the 15th is going to be from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., just so we can fit in all the networking, all the mingling, the podcast panel, and having some good whiskey.
Do it, man. It's going to be a great time. And, quick little words to pick me up. What can you say to somebody who's listening right now who wants to be a better version of themselves before we close out the show?
So if you want to be a better version of yourself, what's worked for me is journaling and taking time to self-reflect. I have a journal that I pretty much use daily. I have like two, actually. One is just like a blank journal where I'll just put my thoughts in, stream of consciousness when it comes to me. And the other one is like prompts. So like asking like these deep questions that you might need to sit with before you can answer. So I think what's always helped me like refresh myself and continue and move forward and be the best version of myself is finding those pockets of time to reflect and journal. And that can be in the morning if you're a morning person, or it can be at night if you're a nocturnal person. But taking that time to like really check in, reflect, and just make sure your mental health is good. Absolutely. I think that is like extremely important for being the best version of yourself, because like you got to make sure you check yourself.
Definitely. Raheem, it's been a great conversation with you, and I hope to have more with you. And
likewise, Preston.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy for your success on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and Easy BlueZ has a day off. He's a good guy. Thanks. Shout out to Easy. And shout out to you, Raheem. Thanks for being part of the show. Appreciate you.
Pleasure.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.